So, yes, thank you ever so much for joining us. The training we're going to do this evening is it's the psychology of communication. And this was done a little while ago by Lara Zibaris, who Isaac might recognize the name. You may have met Lara when we were at AAC. And she is
I might have, yeah.
she's a business psychologist, and she's an Arbonne consultant. And she read a book called How to Sell Network Marketing without without losing without anxiety or losing your friends. Let me just check. I will check the title of that book for you in a minute. But yeah, amazing training, and it's something that I was able to put into practice pretty much straight away. I actually, not that I noticed it in my business on that particular occasion, but I spoke to my mum the next day, and my mum has a few issues, shall we say. And between us, I think we have a few issues. And I personally, as you will get to know Anna, I'm quite a feeling person. I don't always articulate myself very well, maybe sometimes, but I had the most amazing and loving conversation that I had had with my mum for the first time in years. And because I had thought about what Lara had spoken about, you know, when you're having conversations with people. And I just sat back and I almost cried, and I messaged her personally and I said, Lara, thank you. I can see how this is so valuable. And even though I was intrigued when she was giving us the training, it made me definitely, you know, I was like, right, this is something I definitely want to share with you guys. Right, here is the name of the book. You want to read the book? This is the name and the author. So, How to Sell Network Marketing Without Fear and Losing Your Friends. And the author's name is Michael Oliver.
Okay, got it.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. So I'm going to mute everything. And please, you know, you can see the chat bar underneath. If you want me to stop and explain anything at any point, just put it on the chat and I'll answer anything.
Okay.
Okay. So you can hear me, yeah? Thumbs up. You can hear me? Okay, good, good, good. So she was saying in the beginning, she wanted to share some key things that we can start doing in the way that we talk to people that completely change the way that people will react to you. So during this training, I'm going to be talking about the difference between selling and natural selling. And the difference is the intent that's behind what you're doing. So when we think of selling, you know, we often think of maybe a used car salesman, and that can put us off. Yeah, I can see Isaac nodding his head. With natural selling, there is a real difference in the intent behind what you're doing. Now, this is what we often do in network marketing sometimes, you know, and I've done this before. You know, we're chatting away to someone and they'll say something like, I don't have enough money, or I want more time. And then we jump in with something like, you know what you should do, or I have something that could really help you, or I can show you how you can have more time, etc., etc. However, the lack of money, or the issue with health or time is not actually the problem. that's actually just a symptom of the problem that they've got. And when you understand the psychology of communication, you can get to the deeper issue. I always talk a lot about peeling back the layers of an onion when I'm talking to somebody or when I'm talking to a client. When you do that, you'll find that people are then begging to hear what it is that you have to say. So now that sounded really good to me, because I thought, yes, you get into the deeper issues. I want to know how I can really understand people and really help them, because A, it helps my business, but also that's what I'm about. I really do genuinely want to help people. So we're going to explore this analogy to highlight, what it is that we're doing. So, for instance, if you went to the doctor complaining of a sore shoulder, and the doctor didn't ask you a single question, just wrote you a prescription and sent you off on your way, what would you think? You'd think they had no idea what they were doing. They weren't listening to you, and, anything that they say is just going to be, it's not going to be informed, it's not going to be in depth, they're not really going to be able to help you, it's not going to solve the problem. So in the same way that if you don't know enough about a person's issue, people can get a little bit defensive because they hear it as you telling them what's right for them, and they feel, well, they can feel sometimes manipulated, but they can get turned off because, of course, you've listened to the first sentence, maybe given them a solution to that, but actually that's not really what the issue is. So, of course, subconsciously they know that's not what the issue is, so therefore then that their conscious tells them, well, they don't know what they're talking about, they don't feel a connection with you. So first of all, what we're going to do is cover 4 principles to kind of eliminate the cause of any rejection. So communication, it's about changing the way you think and the way that you communicate. So number 1, helping other people solve their problems. The purpose of your business is to help other people solve their problem. We are problem solvers in Arbonne. And I love that. I love that sense of achievement when somebody comes back, and they've been able to achieve what they want to achieve. Their symptom or whatever it is they were experiencing is a problem no more, whether it be lack of energy, lack of time, lack of money, they had too much weight, all of these things, and I've been able to help them solve that problem, and they're so grateful, and that's a great reward to know that you really truly help someone achieve what they're trying to achieve. So we need to have the internal dialogue of, how can I help? So that's something that I really want you to write down in big letters. How can I help? How can I help you? How can I help you solve your problem? So through the psychology of communication, we can allow them to persuade themselves. And I'll cover more of that later as we go on. But it really does. You are helping them discover the solution, because you're listening and then you're offering some options, advice, products maybe, things like that. But through that psychology of communication, they are then able to take on board what you're saying, basically. Now, this intent is so important. Acts of service to others. How can I help? People feel, they will genuinely feel whether our intention is wrong. If we are out to get, people, we won't have a successful business, because people won't come back. A really good example here is to mentally call people potential business partners rather than prospects. I always struggled with the word prospect in the beginning, and it's okay with me now, because I know it doesn't have the negative connotations that I had attached to it. But I really like what Laura said, actually. She said, see people as a potential business partner, which is great because, like, you guys are my business partners. Everybody within my business and connected to me is a business partner, rather than being, I don't really refer to people as, downline, upline, I might say sidelines, because we are all equal. It doesn't matter how long we've been in Arbonne or what title we've got. We all have so much to bring to the table. We all have so much to give. There's no hierarchy with this, and I love that. So, number 2, listening to what is being meant, not just what is being said. So it says in the book, remove your ego and listen 100% of the time. If you listen properly, you can speak to the potential business partner about the correct features that they want or need. Now, some people can listen with the intent to reply, which is me. And since Lara did this training, I've really thought and actually listened to the conversations I've been having, and actually stopping myself from saying what I was going to say, because I've gone, well, you haven't actually listened properly. You're just listening to reply with what it is that you want to say, what it is that you want to get across. Actually listen. And that's what I found with the conversation with my mum. It happened so naturally, and it changed everything completely. So some people listen with the intent to reply versus the intent to understand the facts and the feeling of where someone is coming from. So it's not just the facts. It is really about how that makes them feel. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Does it make them feel excited, disappointed? All of those things, to find out really where they're coming from, and to try and stop interpreting what people say from our own life's experiences, our own judgments and prejudices, etc. Questions like, how do you feel about that? Or tell me what happened. What did you experience? So that instead of assuming, like I do so many times, actually listening, because their experience is not going to be exactly the same as yours. So a good example is somebody may say, I recently broke up with my boyfriend or husband, and you reply, oh no, how awful. And they say, well, actually, it was a good thing, really. I've been wanting to break up with him for ages. People feel less understood in this example than if you had just said, oh, how do you feel about that? Or, oh, how did that come about? Then they can describe in their own words instead of us interpreting it for them. Using questions, so how do you feel about that? So what you are saying is, and one thing I've started doing quite a lot, if I'm hearing you correctly, I sense that you're upset, is that right? Or I sense that that's something that you're not keen on, or I suppose, Isaac, with your, when you're coaching your private clients, it really is about getting down to that, so that you can help motivate them to motivate themselves to do what the necessary work that they need to achieve their desired outcome and things. So that's kind of, that's the second point. The third one is ask the right questions at the right time. Now, this is about using questions intended to bring out a person's inner and external truth and values, which I found fascinating. Your potential business partner is the person who has all the answers. Now, this is obviously not just about potential business partners. I think this is so relevant for our clients and preferred clients to really, well, anybody that we're sharing Arbonne with, whether it be from a business perspective or a product perspective, to really get down and find what it is that they want. Because if we don't listen to them properly, we can recommend a product to someone and it's not really what they need. So therefore it's not going to have the desired effect that they want. And therefore they're going to go, oh, that stuff isn't really that good because it doesn't really, didn't actually give them what they wanted. But actually what they wanted, they weren't saying in the first place. You have to kind of peel back those layers to get down there. So we just need to ask the right questions. So, and it is so important. How many of you just know the business presentation so well that you reel off the information to each person you have a one-to-one with, just blah, 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 automatically? So, but what would be the point of waxing lyrical to someone about the fact that you can work for yourself if they're not bothered by that? I have made this mistake so many times, in the past, just assuming from maybe one or two things that people have said and assuming that, right, okay, I need to aim the presentation then from this point of view or that point of view, or they want this product, this is what they want. And like I said, actually, I've completely got the wrong end of the stick, really, because that's what they've said or has appeared to be the case on the surface. But then underneath it all, it's not really. And so therefore they switch off because they think, well, it doesn't resonate with them. So a good example that Lara gave, actually, she said, chatting to a mum, because she's a mum, because I want this business to spend more time with the kids, I focused on that for her. But actually, she was looking forward to getting away from her kids in a nice way. So what she was talking about didn't appeal to this woman, because she was like, well, I'm more than a mum. I've run businesses before. I've been in corporate. I don't just want to be a mum. I want to have something for me. I want that sense of achievement. I want to build my own business, my own empire kind of thing. So she kind of got that the wrong way around. And I've done something similar in the past. So by asking the right questions, we know what to focus on in the presentation. And beautician expert and vegan, 2 different emphases. And yeah, fantastic. It is. It's really, getting down and understanding what it is that people want and where they're coming from. Also, questions put you in control. They involve the other person and they paint the picture and help you diagnose the issue. So really get into questioning mode while you're talking, but not kind of interrogation mode, which I started. I sort of saw myself starting to do that once or twice and thought, oh, yeah, I think this person's feeling a little bit uncomfortable here. I need to just, relax a little bit. And, So here's another example. Rather than saying the business opportunity will give you financial freedom, you can say, is financial freedom something that is important to you? Or rather than saying you can get rid of your job and work for yourself, you can ask them, have you ever thought about working for yourself? Is being in control, of what you do something that's important to you, etc. Or instead of saying that the opportunity will give them recurring income, you can ask them what they would do if they had a steady income that came in each month whilst they didn't have to work for anyone anymore, which is actually really good, because I know from my perspective, the thought of leaving a secure, steady paycheck each month, even though it wasn't very much, and then suddenly being in control of what I was going to have coming in was quite scary, because I'd never done it before. And I suppose I didn't have the confidence and the belief that actually I could achieve that and be financially secure. So actually saying along the lines of, if they had a steady income that came in each month whilst they didn't have to work for anyone anymore, that really does, it's like you're still getting that steady income, but you don't have to work for anyone anymore. So number 4, feeding back what you think you heard they want. So by feeding back, we're clarifying. So when you understand what a person is really looking for and why they want it, you will then be able to customize your presentation and present it in a way so that it personally means something to them. So using those phrases such as, so I think what I'm hearing is X, Y, and Z. You know, you'd like to have more time with the kids, but you still want to do something fulfilling and have that sense of achievement and still be building something for yourself, you know, to have that other identity as well as yourself, and let them respond. You know, they may turn around and say, yeah, sort of, you know, more kind of this and more kind of that, and go, right, brilliant. You know, so you're actually asking them and getting them to clarify and consolidating what they're saying. So then they hear you reflect what they've said, so that they know then that you are really listening and can resonate with what you're saying, because they know that you understand them. And especially for someone that you don't know very well, if it's someone that you've just met, that's quite important, because you're still building that relationship, building that trust with them. So number 5, learn how to listen. So there are some rules to good listening. A, be present. Focus 100% on the person talking. You know, don't be on the phone, texting, or trying to do something else. Stop, listen, and focus. So, and I was like, yeah, well, when I'm doing a presentation or I'm, you know, speaking to a client, I would never do that anyway. And I mentioned something, and then I thought, yeah, actually, because we don't just see the people that we're talking to about the business when we're directly talking to them about the business, they may be someone that we see in our lives professionally. They may be someone that we see in our lives personally. They may be a friend. But outside of those, you know, Arbonne connection times, if you know, like I have been, you know, someone that's not really paying attention and texting, or got my mind half on something else, you know, watching the TV or whatever, when somebody's talking to you or they're there, then you're not completely 100% present. So then therefore, when you do have something to say, subconsciously they've got it in their mind, well, she doesn't really pay attention to what I say, so why should I listen to any advice that she's trying to give me? It's very black and white, but it's along those lines. So, and also don't be thinking about the next thing you'll say, and definitely don't be one of those people that says, I've had an experience like that, let me tell you about it, because then it's all about me. Concentrate on them, the speaker. Use positive body language, so, you know, look alert, you know, you're listening to them, and don't think about what you're going to say next, just think about what they're saying. B, be accepting. Listen and accept without judgment. Accept without statements. You know, for example, the difference between, oh no, that must have been awful, or oh no, that must have caused you a lot of stress, versus, so what was that like, or how do you feel? You know, it's completely different, isn't it? You know, making statements of, you know, it must have been awful, caused you a lot of stress. It's putting words into their mouth, isn't it? And things like that. C, be curious. You know what you should do. Ask more questions instead. Just keep asking questions to find out. And is this the last one? See? No. Identify the difference between logical facts and emotions. So the problems that people talk about and want to solve, and potentially this could be through, you know, the business or the products, come in pairs. So logical facts and emotional needs or feelings. So logical facts, first of all. What do people want? More freedom, time, money, residual income, health, less stress, clear their debts, etc. Those are facts. Facts alone have very little persuasive or emotional power. Excuse me. What often happens is someone says, I wish I had more time, or I wish I had more money. And us as, network marketers and things, we can jump in and say, oh, I can help you with that, like the example was in the beginning. But you don't know what you're helping and why. You can easily offend if you don't know the underlying reason, and it's more powerful to draw them in, to get their feelings about the present situation, so that you can really understand why they want more time, why they want more money, what is it that they want to achieve, what is it that's going to really make them happy. And it's the feelings that inspire people to change, not the facts. And again, Isaac, I'm going to use you as an example. As a coach, personal trainer, they have to attach the pain to what they're trying to get away from, to get the motivation to do what it is actually that seems like hard work to get the desired outcome, if that makes sense. So you have to attach the feelings to some sort of pain to show people that this will help them get away from that, or the desire that they want. What is the feeling that they want to have? What is it from having that time or money or whatever is going to make them happy? An example that I connect to is the fact that I will be happy seeing my family happy, seeing my children flourish and be happy, and those experiences that I want to have with them, memories, to create memories, it makes me smile inside. That's what I want. And I don't want the money. I don't want the time. I want to have happy times with my kids. That's what I want. And that's the feeling that all of that creates. So you need to ask the questions to get behind the facts and find out how they feel about not having whatever it is that they want. It's like the 90% of the tip of the iceberg being submerged under the water. That's what you have to find. That's what you have to, uncover and discover. Behind factual needs are feelings. Inner needs and feelings involve things like to be listened to, recognized, heard, appreciated, in control, validated, understood, acknowledged, loved, fulfilled, respected, liked, achievement, comfort, inner peace, etc., etc. They are the real need. Even when people say, oh, but I just need the facts. Yeah, they don't necessarily understand that actually it is the feelings attached to those. Some of us can be real detail people and want all the detail, but you still need to get down to what is it they want, what is it that they really need, all those feelings and things. Okay, so how do we use communication to uncover the real need and discover what people really want, and essentially get them asking us to give them the presentation rather than us then asking them? So use the conversation framework, Natural Selling, from the book by Michael Oliver. So there are 5 steps to this. First is connecting, and I'll obviously go through these. The second is discovering. 3 is transitioning. 4, presenting. 5, committing. So firstly, connecting. Lots of different ways to connect, but let's assume you are sitting down with someone and they say, okay, so what is it? Start your presentation by not presenting. People worry about being sold to. So say instead, before I get into what I've got here, let me ask you a few questions so we can talk more about you and what you're looking for. For example, tell me about your present job role, or, let me ask you a few questions to get ideas as to whether what I'm doing might fit into what you're looking for. Think about it this way. You're interviewing someone for a job. You want amazing people to work with, and you want to find a fit that is right. And that's really important as well, because this isn't for everyone, and it's not the right time for some people. Excuse me. And that's really important. It's not just about having numbers. It's about having the right people that are gonna make the most of this, and who want it, and who it's going to fit for. So the second one, discovery. Get a precise picture of what potential partners want. Help your partner think about their needs and wants. Yes. Identify emotional reasons, the why behind what they're looking for. So this is really the most important stage. You want to find out about their background. First, really important, they are not going to change unless they realize that what their current situation is like. And by saying it out loud, then they can admit it to themselves. So a background question: what is your current situation? What is it that you're doing right now? And then I might lead on to what is it that you would like to do more of? What is it that you would like to do less of? And when they say what they're doing right now in their current situation, is that where you want to be now? Things like that. What would you rather be doing, etc., etc. You want to develop their needs. What do they want and why they want it? This will help you focus on the correct features in your presentation. So like I said, what do you and don't you like about your current situation? Here you can expand on opinions, feelings, emotions, worries, likes, satisfactions, and so on. What would you change about your job if you could? Why would you change it? What do you like about your work? Why is it important to you? Things like that. Now, having explored the positive and the negatives, which are two paths, then you can say something along the lines of, what would you rather be doing if you could? How would that make you feel if you could be doing that? And then you're getting deeper feelings, questions like, how do you feel about that? How does that make you feel? Especially if someone says, I was hoping by now that I would be doing X, Y, and Z and living here, but that hasn't really happened. And you can say, how does that make you feel? How do you feel about that? And it really start getting into kind of counselling session mode almost. But people then really start to reflect and take a look at their current situation, and is it where they want to be? And then you've got consequence questions. Now this expands on the problem and makes the need more urgent, and explores the consequences of making the wrong decisions. So what will happen if you don't do anything about the current situation? Now this is key to communication psychology. If people haven't thought through the possible consequences, then they are less likely to want to change. If we don't actually think about what's going to happen, then why change what you're doing? And that's what actually dawned on me when this was shared with me. I wasn't really looking for anything else, but actually, Polly was asking me questions like, so where would you like to be in 5 years? What would you like to be doing as a family? Can you see yourself working in your job? And actually I took a look and I thought, do I really want to be doing this for the rest of my life? And seeing my colleagues doing exactly that for the rest of their lives, never doing anything else, never experiencing anything else, never kind of moving on with their lives, always broke, not able to go on holiday, and thinking, well, that is never going to change unless you actually do something different. And that's where this really comes in. Letting them understand how life will be if the present issue isn't resolved. Sorry, it's my son. What if nothing changed? By going to another company, etc. Things like that. So solution questions. This involves your potential partner and their ideas. It reveals and strengthens the fact that you might be able to solve the problem. So, what would you do about your present situation? You know, what would they do about it? You know, ideally, you want the person to come up with the solution, their idea. You know, if it's their idea, it's more powerful. Excuse me. What would you do about it if you could? What have you done, if anything? Now, I find that one a bit difficult to say sometimes because it can be taken the wrong way, I feel. Now, that might be my insecurities. You're shaking your head. So we just ask it anyway. Yeah. Okay, I like it. I'll do that next time. So yeah, what have you done, if anything? You know, and they may or may not. So what do you see as the answer to your question? And whatever their response is, why is that? And is that important to you? So if it's not important to them, then you know it's not important to them. If it is, then you can expand on that. So the next point is qualifying. Are they ready to take action? You basically get them to ask you if you do the presentation for them. So instead of saying, you want, it leads them into being more eager and receptive and going, yes, okay, I'm ready for this. I'm ready to listen. I need to know what it is that you've got because I can see, I can feel, I'm hearing from the words I'm saying to myself, I need another opportunity. So briefly summarize what you've heard and then qualify. For example, if I heard you correctly, you're looking for something that would give you peace of mind financially.